Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Circle of the Earth Fellowship. I hope y'all are excited for this one. We're going to be talking about propaganda, and there's quite a bit to that. So I'm going to give you a little quick synopsis of the episode, and then we'll say hello to everyone and get into the topic after some housekeeping. So let's go. From slight adjustments to the facts of events to outright fabrications of deluded minds, propaganda is a means to shape the thoughts, feelings, and opinions of those minds it touches. Although propaganda was constructed by those who desire control over the narrative of the times, and that this machine was designed to attack and manipulate the very hearts of men, it also bears a weakness, vulnerable to those looking between the cracks of these manufactured stories. Join us as we discuss the topics of propaganda and the implications for our and future generation lives from the perspective of believers seeking the puzzle pieces of truth. So, welcome everybody. Good to see you. I hope y'all are excited for this topic. Let's go ahead and say hello to everyone on the panel, and again, we'll do some housekeeping and get into it. So, first up, we got Marcia. Welcome, sister. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Propaganda.
Yep. Yeah, and if you don't, you're gonna learn about some of it. So. Sweet. Well, welcome, sister. We'll jump over to you, Robert. Welcome, brother. Good to see you. Shabbat shalom. Absolutely. And last but not least, we got our dear brother, Frankie B. Shabbat shalom, brother. Welcome. Oh. No one. Okay, oh my gosh. See, and I said, remember what I said, Marcia? I said everything was set up. I just didn't click one button when I introduced you. So, okay, let's rerun through that again. I apologize. Welcome,
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, Marcia.
Say that again.
Well, just hi. Hi, everyone. Good to see you.
We'll jump over to you, Robert. Back to you, Robert.
All right. Shalom. Shalom. Let's get this going.
Yeah, let's get going. And last but not least, we got Frankie B.
Shalom, everyone. All right, let's do this. Propaganda. Do it again. We'll do it again. We'll do it live, and we'll do it again.
Do it live. Sweet. All right, so let's do a quick bit of housekeeping, and then we'll get into the topic. So pull that up for everyone. Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka.
And open up this. Go back one page. So first and foremost, I want to shout out to Chris and Liz Bailey over on Take on the World. They allow us to stream on their platform and share our puzzle pieces with their community. So we always want to give them love because they definitely deserve it. And we want to give them appreciation, gratitude as well. So check them out if you haven't heard of them. And hello to everyone there on Take on the World. And we also, if you don't know, on Take on the World, we do have our own channel. So if you'd like to support us as well, we're slowly growing past 1160. So thank you to all the new recent subscribers. It does really help the channel grow, as well as comments, likes, subscriptions, all that jazz. And as we like to do, we like to read the comments from the last video. And yeah, so over here on Take on the World, we got Moonglow says thank you, sister, for the comment and the support. We got Melt1263 saying they are terra firma from an environment more suitable for reptiles. Thank you for your comment. Says Windy Rivers 5178 says there's a huge difference in the volume of you in volume of you, Vader Bear, and everyone else. You're way too low. Okay. So thank you for that comment. I'm gonna increase my gain. Did I get louder to you guys?
No, I don't know. You ought to ask. Don't do anything because of last week.
Right. Is that a comment from last week?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess
you
that's
sound
true, but I think people
normal.
always say that, so I'm gonna try something.
No, you've always been. I don't know.
Everyone in chat right now, am I good
I don't know.
volume-wise, or is it low? If I need to turn my stuff up, I'd like to know. If anyone else is low, please tell me so I can turn them up. So we'll take just a quick second. Let us do that.
Yeah.
Let me pull up chat.
Okay.
Vader is always more quiet. And
Oh.
Always more quiet. Okay. So let me change that real quick. How is it now? And then I'm going to try to change it here too. And sound.
She's been saying it for weeks too, that you're always too low.
I apologize.
Wendy has.
I don't think I can do it unless I...
Check. Am I good?
Yes.
Doing this
As far as I
quick,
know.
everybody, so that the sound is good. That should have been after y'all had to repeat your opening.
Yeah.
Okay, that's totally set.
Still the same, Wendy says.
Okay, let me turn it up more. All right, how is that, Wendy? If that's not good, I can try one more thing. So let me know if that's good. If not, I will already get into the menu of that. If it's still not good.
Gotta wait. Good silver bullet bands.
Let's go properties.
Waiting.
Oh, I need to add a filter.
Still the same. Everything is still the same. Okay. Better. She says better.
Better, okay.
Better, Vader.
you're the same. Everything is still the same.
Filters, there we go.
You always were.
I think this will help.
Effects are loud.
Well,
Everybody
I think
else
my-
is good.
yeah.
All right,
Better.
how is this, or is this too much, Wendy?
Well, we're gonna have to wait about
20 seconds, that's fine. But so I'll keep going with this voice, even if it's low.
All right.
Hopefully it's not, and then we'll get to the end, and then we'll do a little bit more correction. And then Tiny Loves Boston says, "I'm not voting for Biden. I just won't vote." Yeah, I think voting is a horrible idea for lots of reasons. And then over on the Circle of the Earth Fellowship, we got our brother Robert saying, still haven't found the Flex Fighters. I think we played that, but it actually got a copyright issue on on it. That was the one video that did, interestingly enough. So sweet. Okay, real quickly, we also have a Discord. That's where this conversation as well as the after shows take place. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. And then we also have a merch store. So that's the best way to support it, and we feel like you kind of get something, and you get to support the show. If you insist, you can donate through this way. We don't go through YouTube. We don't have super chats, anything like that. So that's if you do. Now, I did start a TikTok. I don't really use TikTok, but I suggested that I should add my shorts to it. I did, and as you see, I already got a community guidelines violation, which was interesting because Robert pointed out, he's like, I thought that was like a more free speech thing. This video is allowed on YouTube. So interesting. Check that out if you want to. Throw me some followers, maybe get some support there if you're interested. Bible Gateway, Bible Hub, and sacredtext.com are all great resources for looking into scripture, different concordances, different versions, as well as the Apocrypha here at Sacred Text. I definitely highly suggest the Book of Enoch as well as the Book of Jubilees. And right now on Sundays, we are doing the Testament of 12 Patriarchs. That's tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. So come check it out if you're interested in doing that reading. We are going to be on the Testament of Dan. So pretty excited for that. Again, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Okay, sweet. So I can go ahead and straight up close all of that and stop streaming that.
So what are you doing tomorrow? The Testament of Dan the Man?
Yes, for Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, the Testament of Dan. Okay, sweet. So we got that good. And got all this set up. Okay, sweet. So I can get rid of this too. Perfect. All right, so we are discussing propaganda, and so as Marsha kind of said, that, and you may have missed, we all know about propaganda, and if you haven't, you should, and hopefully you'll learn some about it here. But I feel like a lot of those who are already seeking the truth have come across this, whether intentionally looking it up or kind of felt something off within their life that, hey, that story doesn't really add up to what they're saying. And maybe they have personal, experiences that prove, prove as such. So it's kind of a big topic, and it does kind of span a whole bunch of stuff, right? I think a lot of people do kind of firstly think of propaganda, think about war, right? Countries saying, oh, we're doing good, and oh, we're doing good. And we kind of have seen that within the Russian and Ukrainian conflict, right? Where it was saying, Russia was saying, oh, we're doing awesome. And then Ukraine saying, oh, no, we're doing awesome. They're saying their numbers are low, our numbers are low. And so you kind of got this. And so people usually kind of go there. So let's go. I want to bring up, I think it says it there. So let's start with this. So that word propaganda comes from a man who wrote a book called Propaganda is Everywhere by Edward Bernays. And Edward Bernays is kind of the father when it comes to more of the commercial side of propaganda, but obviously was influenced, obviously also had heavy influence within the presidents of his day during the times of his day, and we'll get into that. But we're gonna watch here a little bit of this video. This girl, I think this is her actual channel on BitChute called Think True. She put a really good video together, and we're gonna play about 3 minutes of it, and then stop, kind of talk about some stuff, and come back to it. So yeah, I'm gonna pull that up for everyone. Go ahead and we'll jump off cam and we'll give that a play. Here we go.
Edward Bernays may not be a household name, but he's left his fingerprints on nearly every facet of life as we know it. In the early 1900s, he started using propaganda to shape narratives and control what people think, buy, eat, drink, and so much more. His work has had a negative effect on people and has caused an untold amount of suffering, harm, and loss of traditional values. A pioneer in the field of propaganda, he's also referred to as the father of public relations. Bernays believed that public relations is not a gimmick, but a necessity.
Shoot.
He argued that public relations could be used to shape the response of a general or particular audience. He understood that perception often mattered more than reality. One of Bernays' major contributions was his groundbreaking book titled Propaganda, published in 1928. Which rebranded the term propaganda as a consistent, enduring effort to create or shape events to influence the relations of the public to an enterprise, idea, or group. In it, he expounded his belief that an invisible ruling elite could control the masses through psychological manipulation. He discussed how public opinion could be swayed by appealing to people's deep emotions rather than rational thought. His book Propaganda also popularized the term Public Relations Council, as a euphemism for propagandists. Bernays wanted to distance himself from the negative connotations of the word propaganda. Edward Bernays used propaganda to influence public opinion in various ways. Here are some of the techniques he used. He influenced trusted leaders. Bernays believed that all groups have a leader, and one of his most effective propaganda techniques was to influence people by reaching out to the trusted leaders of their groups, such as actors, politicians, academics, influencers, doctors, and more. By using subtle messaging and suggestion, he believed that people's attitudes and behaviors could be influenced by subtle messaging and subliminal suggestions. By creating events, Bernays created events that would generate media coverage and shape public opinion. Associating products with positive emotions. Bernays associated products with positive emotions to influence public opinion. For example, he was hired by the American Tobacco Company in the late 1920s to promote smoking among women. This campaign dramatically increased the number of female smokers. He advised major corporations and politicians. Throughout his career, he counseled many powerful clients including Procter & Gamble, CBS, and the United Fruit Company. He was a consultant for several U.S. presidents, including Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and Dwight D. Eisenhower.
All right, so we're going to stop it there for a second and kind of bring some other stuff up. So this video, and we're going to keep playing it, focuses more on the commercial side of the of Edward Bernays. So I want to take a quick second and jump over into kind of the military side. So I'm not saying that Edward Bernays drew these, but we definitely know that through what he taught, as well as people before him and after him, that they 100% affected the military and their way of recruiting or telling events, etc. So many people have seen this. I want you for the U.S. Army, nearest recruiting station. So something as simple as this, we've all kind of grown up with this, and we know who, Uncle Sam is and all that jazz. But just really think about how effective this was. Definitely during the war times. And if you were already kind of being, feeling like, guilty or conscious because of the environment you were in and the kind of the idea of going and serving your country, etc., this would really work on you, right? And of course this isn't very subtle. I feel like they've gotten more subtle over time, but yeah, what are y'all's thought about this picture I'm sharing here?
Oh, it's famous. And yeah, it was everywhere. And I always thought America was the good guy. Period. End of story. I did. I grew up thinking, oh.
Yeah, and that's part of right? So propaganda, and we've already kind of talked about public education, right? But isn't that part of we've also talked about predictive programming, and it's like predictive programming and propaganda are both tied within the public education, because over and over they're trying to tie this certain thing. And even to kind of go on what you're saying, you've always thought America was good, right? Like to do the Pledge of Allegiance and to really, and I'll say right now, guys, we are blessed as Americans to live in this country, for a few reasons. One, the Second Amendment, First Amendment, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, acknowledging that those rights are from God and not from government. That sets us apart for sure. But we definitely have our faults and corruption. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Frankie B? What are your thoughts, Robert, about this picture?
So I see the picture, and everyone, with all what we see these days, you say, well, how can you be driven by a stupid little poster, right? Mm-hmm. But you got herd mentality, all right, and you got shame. You get shamed into not caring about your country. You see this, your country needs you, they want you, you love your country. So, if you're an American, you're going to go and participate. You're going to do your part.
Good point. They did. They shamed you and made you, yes, good point.
To run into
herd mentality, that's huge.
Yeah, and all to get you to run into, kinsmen's gunfire, right? Pretty crazy. What are your any thoughts, Frankie B?
Yeah, that's one angry looking dude. That's all I got to say.
It's almost like a fatherly, godly figure, isn't it?
No.
And yet.
Looks like a satanic figure. I want you.
What I agree, but what I'm kind of saying is, like, you have this top hat. He's kind of like a wizard. He has this, white hair and a white beard, kind of an older man. I don't know. I feel like they pull on those subtle heartstrings of an old man saying, hey, I want you, Interesting. Sweet. Okay. Yeah. Well, here's another one. We got
Vader. How did they come up? Vader. How did they come up with the name Uncle Sam?
I didn't look into that, but that'd be interesting.
It would.
So this right here is another famous one. We actually have that. You can see that in Robert's background. This is the War Production Co-Coordinating Committee. They produced this "We Can Do It" picture, during World War I to incentivize through emotions, through emotional manipulation, women to join the workforce, to leave their children, to leave their families, and to go into the workforce to help produce, materials for the war effort. And so, this is such an iconic image, just like the previous one, and that's for a reason, right? Because it was iconic, because it worked really well, and it's known in history because a lot of people remember it. So so that one's a pretty well known one. And then jump into World War II, right? We got stuff like this. Hold on. Oh, you want to jump back?
Yeah, that right there. They are breaking up the family unit.
Yeah.
They're getting the woman out of the house.
Yep.
Because when we were growing up, me and Marcia, the woman never worked. She stayed home and took care of the household. But not our age. Well, maybe Marcia's not lying. but that was the beginning of getting the woman out of the house, and getting her into the workplace and giving her independence. Where now the family you have to have two incomes now to survive, and they've made that.
That was the beginning. I truly believe that was.
Yeah, absolutely, and right along, right. This goes right along with women's suffrage, right? If they went and helped out with the with the war effort, if they were a part of society, then they should have a say too. And I'm not saying anything against women. I'm just saying we can kind of see what these things have finally, birthed. To use kind of a pun. So, jumping to the next one, there's so much propaganda here, right? We got all this industrialization. We got the globe. We got the evil Hitlerio mustache man. and we got the evil Japanese. You know, our homes are in danger now. Our job, keep them firing. So this was, you know, oh, look, they're coming. Warning, this is a big problem. We need you to work for the military-industrial complex, right? Which often, if you look into the type of environments that people were working in, and the wages that they were receiving, it wasn't okay, right? But because it was the war effort, right, everyone had to, you know, sacrifice so that we could win this war, because our homes are in danger. Super, you know, racist. And then here's another one. This is World War II. This is kind of pushing, you know, kind of up the line even more, right? Because no longer is it just women working in the factories back home, right? Because all the men are at war. Now it's women working near, you know, near or close to the front lines. They're leaving not only their home, but they're leaving their country and going to other, you know, to other countries to work for the Navy Nurse Corps. So, you know, and then you got the New York chapter, American Red Cross, right? And all the negativity surrounding this group. And then you have, you know, this beautiful woman and all these men like, oh, you know, pick me. Very, very weird there. So,
yeah.
Sweet. So I'm gonna read a little bit of this real quick, and then we are gonna, and so we can kind of jump. No, yeah, we can jump back on camera because this reading shouldn't affect it. But we'll just keep it big like this so everyone can read. Okay, so this is just, I found this world-war-2.info propaganda. This is all I found when I did a search, so we'll just read a little bit of this and kind of go into it. We're going to start here, though. We'll just read the whole thing. Okay. World War II saw continued use of propaganda as a weapon of war, both by Hitler's propagandist Joseph Goebbels and the British political warfare executive. Some historian revisionists claim that the use of gas chambers in the Holocaust is an instance of an effective Allied propaganda campaign that could not be reined in after the war, much like the now discredited claim that during the Gulf War, the Iraqi soldiers were ripping newborn babies out of incubators and throwing them to the ground. Oh, we've heard about that. Propaganda has been a human activity as far as reliable recorded evidence exists. Absolutely. The writings of the Romans, like Livy, are considered masterpieces of pro-Roman status propaganda. The term itself originates with the Roman Catholic Sacred Congregation for the Propagation of the Faith, Sacra Congito Christano Nomini Propagando, or briefly Propaganda Fide. The Department of the Pontifical Administration charged with the speed of Catholicism and with the regulation of ecclesiastical affairs in the non-Catholic countries, missionary territory. The actual Latin stem propagand conveys a sense of that which ought to be spread. Propaganda techniques were first confined and applied in a scientific manner by the journalist Walter Lippmann and psychologist Edward Bernays. We already kind of listened to Bernays. We're going to go back to that in just a minute. Nephew of Sigmund Freud. Weird. Early in the 20th century, during World War I, Lippmann and Bernays were hired by the United States President Woodrow Wilson to sway popular opinion to enter the war on the side of Britain. The war propaganda campaign of Lippmann and Bernays produced within 6 months so intense an anti-German hysteria as to permanently impress American business and off Hitler, among others, with the potential of a large-scale propaganda control public opinion. Bernays coined the term group mind and engineering consent, important concepts in practical propaganda work. The current public relation industry is a direct outgrowth of Lippmann and Bernays' work and still used extensively by the United States government. For the first half of the 20th century, Bernays and Lippmann themselves ran a very successful public relations firm. So this is going to get into the Nazis to avoid getting my channel deleted. I am not going to do this. But kind of quick good news, I did find a effective way that I'm going to start sharing all the links. And I'm going to do that retroactively. So I'm going to go back to episode 1 all the way till now and put all those links in a nice neat way. It will be in Discord. So if you want to watch these videos, go back and check these resources yourself. You will have to be a part of Discord, but that will be available to those who are. Okay, sweet. So we can go ahead and get rid of back that. We're going to switch back to this video on Think True, and then let this play for a little bit, and then we'll kind of keep trucking along. So I'm going to bring this up for everyone. We can drop cams, and we will be back.
He's also led a successful PR campaign on behalf of the Beechnut Packing Company and the American Egg Board to make bacon and eggs a staple breakfast food. Bernays' techniques were influential in shaping public opinion and are still used today in advertising, public relations, politics, and much more. Bernays revolutionized the advertising industry by realizing the power of appealing to people's emotions, also known as manipulation. He understood that by tapping into desires, fears, and aspirations, he could shape people's actions and decisions. He introduced concepts like consumerism and lifestyle branding, turning everyday products into symbols of status and identity. Bernays knew that by associating a product with a certain ideal, people would be more inclined to buy it. He also developed political propaganda and smear campaigns and pioneered the use of psychology to manipulate public opinion against political figures and groups. Some of his unethical propaganda efforts contributed to the overthrow of foreign governments. For example, he was hired by the United Fruit Company to promote the overthrow of the democratically elected government of Guatemala in 1954. He used propaganda to create a negative image of the Guatemalan government and convince the American public that the overthrow was necessary. How ethical were his methods? Well, his methods of using propaganda to influence public opinion have rightly been criticized for being unethical. For example, he associated cigarettes with the idea of women's liberation to make smoking more socially acceptable for women. Critics argue that Bernays' campaign to promote smoking among women was unethical because it put women's health at risk. Bernays wasn't just good at marketing, he knew what he was doing. He deliberately set out to control the minds of the masses for the benefit of an invisible government. Don't believe me? The following is an excerpt from his 1928 book, Propaganda. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. In almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind. The aluminum industry's secret weapon. Bernays played a significant role in promoting the use of fluoride in the United States by convincing dentists to agree to market fluoride. His expertise in mass persuasion and manipulation of public opinion was instrumental in garnering support for the fluoridation of the public water supply. Due to his ability to craft a compelling narrative that would sway the American public in favor of water fluoridation, Bernays was hired by the Aluminum Company of America to promote the use of fluoride in water.
You're muted.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to take a second real quick and talk about what she was just talking about. So, and that's the fluoride, right? And I want to start it off by kind of asking y'all a question. Now, did any of y'all run into when you came aware of fluoride and the negative things with it, and you went to share that information with people? Did you get something along like, it's just good for your teeth? You're muted. You're muted.
I come from, I got flack from my daughter because she's a dental hygienist, and she was not buying it. She would roll her eyes at me. She'd do everything she could, and she goes, "Oh, no, it's good for them." She believed it wholeheartedly.
Right, because think about how much money was poured into the propaganda.
And she
Propaganda
believed
isn't
it.
cheap. Yeah, wholeheartedly, right?
You know,
Right, to where
people are making their own toothpaste with baking soda and coconut oil.
Yeah.
yeah, when you found out about it, but she believed it so much that she even had her son swishing it, spitting it out. She says, "Oh, if you spit it out, really? If you spit it out, or come on." But yeah, it took a while. But
it's
she
like
believed.
if you put a chemical in your mouth and you swig it around and spit it out, then you're okay. Like none of it is absorbed into you by putting it in your mouth. You know what I mean? Of course it is. And so, what about you, Frankie B? What were you gonna say, brother?
Well, they put fluoride in the. You know why they put it? You know why they introduced fluoride to our to the public? It's to calcify your pineal gland, which is
Right.
supposedly your third eye.
Well, and in actuality, I think that
It's
is
poison.
well, I think that's the benefit. Like that's the plus to them doing it. And as you kind of see here with the industry, basically what happened, guys, is Edward Bernays was able to sell fluoride as this good thing for teeth,
Yes.
in which aluminum companies would have to pay to get rid of this toxic waste. And so instead of getting rid of the toxic waste by having to pay to dispose of it, now they were paid to put it in the American public's water.
That Edward Bernays, I want to ask a question. Do you think he was demonic through and through? Do you think he had an entity? Because he was truly the one that got propaganda out there.
Yeah.
He really was.
At least within our modern time, right? Because like we definitely know that every civilization has used propaganda, right, to fulfill their rights and their wrongs, right?
Yeah.
So what I mean by that, go read, King Alec, information about Alexander the Great, right? From his perspective, if you read it from then he's this great king, did all the great things, right? They don't talk about how bad he was or the bad things he did. So that's what I mean is propaganda has been, is literally intrinsically tied into what we call history. So yeah, just the fact that. What about you, Robert? You ever hear the whole fluoride's good from your teeth? If you ever brought that up to anyone?
I've heard of that. And I did note that the water filter in our refrigerator actually has fluoride. So I was like, okay, we're not using that no more.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Really?
We saw that on the thing, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm gonna have to look that up because like they're trying to get around people putting, filters in their house.
Right. We have well. I don't know whether that.
What if you get the well, you're filtering it, but then right when you're getting it out of the refrigerator,
Yeah.
it's putting it back in. That would be sinister. I think that's something interesting to look up. I'm glad you brought that up.
I did not know that.
You should look in getting non-fluoride filters. Both of you.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure they sell them. 'Cause
I
there's
got that
a lot of
stuff
products
in,
out there that don't have fluoride in it and are anti-fluoride.
Totally.
And Wendy put in the chat.
Now there's a lot of water companies that are actually taking the fluoride out of the water.
Yeah.
And Wendy put in the chat that it even says on the toothpaste, which I guess I haven't looked at,
Poison
is
control.
that it's poison. Yeah, poison control. What?
Yeah, if you
It's spit it
swallow
out.
too much of this, call the poison control hotline. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And I have family that's like, no, it's literally good for your teeth. And it's like, yeah, that's because they took out the good iodine from salt and from other sources. And so we don't have that, that other source. And so, yeah, our body needs the fluoride because we're not getting the iodine. It's all planned out. So, all right, sweet.
Yeah.
Let's jump back off camera. We're gonna keep going with this video.
That's why you gotta use Himalayan sea salt. It's high in iodine.
Nice.
Celtic's better.
All right, let's try this.
He convinced dentists to endorse the use of fluoride by making them believe that it would prevent tooth decay. However, critics argue that Bernays' campaign was unethical because it downplayed the potential health risks of fluoride. They also faced widespread skepticism and opposition from a public that was wary of government intervention and potentially harmful chemical additives in the drinking water supply. Leveraging his understanding of human psychology and his ability to shape public perception, Bernays launched an aggressive campaign.
However, critics argue that Bernays' campaign was unethical because it downplayed the potential health risks.
Marsha, will you mute yourself, sister?
I'm so sorry.
Positioned fluoride as a critical component of the public that was wary of government intervention and potentially harmful chemical additives in the drinking water supply. Leveraging his understanding of human psychology and his ability to shape public perception, Bernays launched an aggressive campaign that positioned fluoride as a critical component of good oral hygiene. He skillfully associated the chemical with respected authorities such as dentists, scientists, and trusted public health organizations to gain the trust of the masses by appealing to authority while also emphasizing its benefits for children's dental health. Because what parent would want to gamble with that, right? The company Bernays worked with patented the formula for the first fluoride toothpaste. Norman Rockwell drew some of the propaganda campaign art. To reinforce the message and dispel any lingering doubts, Bernays enlisted celebrities, doctors, and influential individuals to endorse fluoridation. He successfully generated media buzz around the topic by orchestrating press conferences, penning articles for popular publications, and ensuring that proponents of fluoride received ample coverage. As a result, his efforts shifted the national conversation on fluoride from one marketed by fear and suspicion to one centered on scientific progress and improved public health. I won't say it here, but do those tactics not sound eerily familiar to what we all lived through a few short years ago? Bernays' method of using propaganda to influence public opinion have been scrutinized for being manipulative and deceptive. However, Bernays defended his techniques as ethical and argued that they were necessary to shape public opinion in a democratic society. What do you think? The Sigmund Freud connection. Did you know Edward Bernays was related to Sigmund Freud? Bernays was Freud's nephew, and his mother was Freud's sister. He grew up in Vienna, Austria, where he learned all about Freud's theories on human behavior. Bernays often referenced his uncle and his relationship to him, creating the impression that he had a special understanding of human psychology and behavior by virtue of that family connection. He used this connection to Freud to promote himself as an expert in the field of public relations. Bernays' relationship with his uncle Sigmund influenced his work in several ways. He combined Freud's psychoanalytic ideas with public relations to shape public opinion. He created effective propaganda campaigns by using Freud's theories on human behavior to promote products and shape consumer culture. For example, he used Freud's theories on human desires to convince people to buy products they didn't need. He takes impulse buys to a whole nother level. As you may know, Freud believed the myth of evolution and operated off the assumption we came from monkeys and have little control over our mental facilities. Overall, Bernays' relationship with his uncle Freud played a significant role in shaping his ideas on public relations and propaganda. Bernays applied Freud's ideas on individual psychology to group psychology. He believed that people's attitudes and behaviors could be influenced by group dynamics, and that propaganda could be used to shape group behavior. Some of the ideas Edward Bernays borrowed from Sigmund Freud's theories on human behavior included the belief that people's desires and behaviors are driven by irrational forces, which he saw as an opportunity to manipulate for power and profit. Do you believe your
Real quick before we continue, Robert, you were just, you brought up the herd mentality, right? And so we see this direct connection between Sigmund Freud and his nephew, and what his nephew was basing his work on, where it wasn't an individual level, it was a mass level, right? And it is to target that herd mentality. So great point there.
Mm-hmm.
self to be irrational and easily exploited? Consider how dehumanizing that is. It takes a special kind of sick to view humans as cattle, only good for being steered for profit. No, we are humans created in the image of God with dignity and purpose. Take back your mind from the world by taking every thought captive and making it obedient to Christ. He is our strong defender against these mind games. Bernays involved the concept of the unconscious mind. We've all heard of subliminal messaging, and Bernays believed that people's unconscious minds could be influenced by propaganda and that propaganda could be used to shape public opinion. The concept of repression was also used by Bernays, who believed that people's desires and impulses could be repressed and redirected through propaganda. And finally, he embraced the idea that people's desires and behaviors could be manipulated without their awareness, that is, against their will. Bernays hypothesized that by understanding the group mind, it would be possible to manipulate people's behavior without them even realizing it. His principles of persuasive communication and understanding the psychology of mass audiences have undoubtedly contributed to the evolution of marketing and public relations strategies, which are often employed by companies like TikTok and Netflix in the modern media landscape. Mark Rudolph, the co-founder and former CEO of Netflix, is the great-nephew of Edward Bernays. Lasting impact. So Bernays, hailed as the father of public relations, has left an indelible mark on society through his exploitation of propaganda. Businesses dedicate massive amounts of resources to understanding consumer behavior, demographic targeting, and developing carefully crafted advertising campaigns. They use similar tactics as Bernays did decades ago, triggering emotions and desires that encourage people to buy products or adopt certain beliefs. Political parties structure their messaging and marketing around public sentiment rather than focusing solely on policy details. They exploit fears or desires to garner support or oppose their rivals. They work off of manipulating emotions. This manipulation can often cause a divide within society based on emotions rather than factual or logical discourse.
Literally think about what she just said within our modern times. Every single thing, and it's up in our faces now. It used to be kind of simmered in the background. People didn't talk about it. But nowadays, it's like everything is tied to these things. I'll give you an example. I work within the construction industry, and there are people that if they see certain tools, that someone else picked, they're like, how dare you pick those tools? Why didn't you pick the brand that I picked, right? We got that with trucks and car brands. We have that with, shoe brand. We have all of these false dichotomies that have literally been set up for us to emotionally tie into those brands. And of course we're all guilty of it, and so I'm not throwing any stones, but I do think that what she said was just so powerful.
Vader,
yes.
your wife is trying to get into your room.
Oh, okay, 1 second.
The chat has gone wild. Look at that. Somebody please tell my husband to let me in.
And now I want that remote control.
All right, thank you everybody for being patient. Thank you for Chad for having fun with it. But yeah, so great video. We'll end it there because we got a whole bunch more to share. But check her out on BitChute Think True. So check her out. Okay, could drop that. Alrighty, the Great War, wartime propaganda.
She looks like a vampire, doesn't she?
She's very pale, I would say that.
It was a plain publicity proposition, Creel recalled.
That's one color I don't have.
Vast enterprise in salesmanship.
Whatever. Complete
All
white.
Right. So this I'm going to try to have to break this up, guys, or it's going to get... Here, I actually have to... Let me put the episode thing up. I know y'all can't see it the best. Let me edit this filter real quick. Give me 1 second, everyone. Just doing this because it's less likely to get... it's less likely to get flagged when I put this up. Okay, sweet. I know it's kind of distracting, but that's kind of the point, so I'm not getting yelled at by the copyright. So here we go.
It was a plain publicity proposition, Creel recalled. A vast enterprise in salesmanship.
Creel was a pioneer, you might say, in the field of public relations. And then Wilson appoints him the head of something called the Committee on Public Information, which, not to put too fine a point on it, is essentially the U.S. government's agency for propaganda.
Creel saw his problem as transforming the American people into one white-hot mass of enthusiasm for the war. And the CPI went from a bureaucracy of one person to an army of about 100,000 people in the space of a couple of months.
The CPI mobilized movie stars for the Liberty Loan message. Mary Pickford, Charlie Chaplin, all of the greatest stars of their day. Celebrity culture is just starting to emerge, and they can turn out crowds, and those crowds then become some of the biggest rallies that you see on the home front during the war.
Creel even found a way to push his message when the movie screens were dark.
In between every reel of film, there was a 4-minute break when the projectionist had to change the reels. Someone at the CPI hit on the idea that this was a perfectly captive audience for the delivery of the war message.
Prominent members of the local community would stand up and deliver short patriotic speeches. They became known as the 4-Minute Men. And what began in movie theaters quickly spread to any venue where an audience assembled. In New York, Creel's volunteer army addressed 500,000 people each week. 10 men gave talks in Yiddish, 7 in Italian. President Wilson himself gave a 4-minute speech.
These 4-minute men would give a talk on some aspect of Americanism, why we are fighting, what are the principles we're fighting for.
The appearance of spontaneity masked a carefully scripted government message. These were no haphazard talks by nondescripts, Creel insisted, but the careful, studied, and rehearsed efforts of the best men in each community. Each speech aimed as a rifle is aimed, and driving to its mark with the precision of a bullet.
They were guided by a central authority, but always in the own words of the individual giving the speech, and he was usually a person who was known in the community. He was not saying, this is what the government says. He was saying, I'm an intelligent person, successful person, this is what I think, you should think this way too.
So we'll go on to talk about, this, kind of more in depth, but just think about that. Like, they had people, they went into communities, picked out the people that they knew that would kind of, take the ticket, and had those people go out as if they were some intelligent people with these smart ideas, so that others would hear them, right? And more to what Robert was saying about the herd mentality, they were using those individuals to spread those ideas in a very rehearsed and meticulous way. And, again, look at our society today, and you can see kind of how successful they have been. Okay, let's jump over to here. So we're going to jump in a kind of 2 minutes into this and kind of play it for a little bit. And again, if you want to check these out later, check the link in the description, join the Discord, and I will be starting to post the episode links for the whole season 2. So, let's check this out, and then we'll kind of go from there. It wouldn't surprise me if, because we're playing this on YouTube, it gives us problems. So if it does, we'll kind of quickly move on. But let's check it out for now.
Let's concentrate on the history of how film was used during the Second World War. In 1939, war broke out in Europe, and fears of bombing caused British cinemas to close. The closure prompted public outrage. As a result, within a month, most had reopened their doors, and despite being a potential target, the public weren't concerned about sitting in tightly packed cinemas. Filmmakers were determined to show people the war instead of distracting them from it. Usually, the films included a fictitious story which gripped the audiences, with relatable characters showing moments of heroism and suffering.
This is my call. May hear something.
Control. Sunflower calling station control. 4 bandits down.
4. Good work.
Remainder have escaped in class. No casualties. Repeat, no casualties. May I have permission to return? Over to you. Over.
Sunflower, station control. Calling Sunflower. Return at once. Good work.
The films were also an opportunity to aid recruitment and increase public support of the war.
No longer do we fight wars for jealousy or greed, nor do we fight in anger. We fight because we must, for just those things that we hold so dear. We can learn from the motto of the Royal Air Force, per ardua ad astra, through ordeal to the stars, through endeavor to triumph, through trial to victory.
At the beginning of each feature film, cinemas would show a 5-minute newsreel. For some viewers, this would be the main source of news, speaking about topics around the world.
In the European theater of operations, Allied power continues to crack down on Hitler's borders. Heavy guns force the enemy lines to break at Anzio.
The government realized that the cinema was a powerful platform for propaganda and set its newly created Ministry of Information to work, producing war films aimed to unite and influence the British people.
Here's a record of one night in the working lives of 2,000 women. They're making a gun.
Alrighty, so I don't want to get copyrighted for playing that whole thing, but I think that's kind of a good place to end it. We were talking earlier about, women going into the workforce. So they're seeing it everywhere. They're not just seeing it on the posters. They're seeing at the posters inside while they're waiting for their movie, the next part of their movie to be shown. And so, this is, and like I said, we have a captive audience here. We can kind of they're already here. They're not leaving. And so this is a good time to put that propaganda out there. And things like this, right, would definitely affect the women at the time, for sure. So, So we're going to start kind of talking a little bit about the technique of it, and that are kind of used with propaganda. So we're going to watch this little video. We're going to watch just a little bit, a couple minutes of it, and then we're going to switch and start talking about the techniques. That's when we switch talking about the techniques, we'll kind of open it up more for discussion. So let's keep trucking. We'll play this and then we'll get into it. So pull this big. Make sure y'all are good. All right, here we go.
I can help you, Chuck. I think the election was a victory for good government. It might also be called a victory for propaganda. But that would have been equally true if our opponent had won.
But how can you study it?
Well, you can begin by investigating the techniques of propaganda. Here, I've listed some of the main ones. Glittering generalities?
What is a glittering generality?
That headline you were quoting, a victory for good government. Good government is a phrase we use many times during the campaign. We said the mayor stood for good government and promised good government.
But it's true, isn't it?
What's true? What does good government mean? Is the mayor's idea of good government the same as yours?
I see. It's a glittering generality.
One of the best.
There's another.
Yes. And why do you suppose our opponents chose that phrase?
I guess because everybody likes a real American.
Right. And they wanted to transfer that liking for a real American to Mr. Butler. A day or so after that poster came out, I said in one of my campaign speeches, our opponent advertises himself as a real American. I say he is unreal, unrealistic. He is a visionary, a theorist, a dreamer. He is so thirsty for public office that like a weary traveler in the desert, he sees a mirage, and he is trying to sell it to you as real.
Hot dog, is that not literally what the globe is? What all of the modern, scientism is literally a mirage in the desert, and they're trying to convince you that it was real.
Yep.
It's deluded minds. Deluded minds are coming up with these things, and I say they're deluded because they've taken out they've kind of overflowing their spirit with the evil one, right? With the evil spirits, with the unclean spirits, and can believe these things or not even believe them, but cause others to believe things or manipulate others to believe things. What are y'all's thoughts?
Well, it was so simple of what they were doing. I mean, it's absolutely true. I don't know. Somebody else could talk. I'm at a loss right now because that's what they did. They did it so simply, and yet so well done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was just one of those techniques. It goes on to explain more, but we're going to kind of dive into that and talk about it. So it says here, and everyone can jump on camera again that wants to, just because we don't. It's just a page, it's not a video. So, okay. So with this, and it says this is Wikipedia propaganda techniques. It says propaganda techniques are methods used in propaganda to convince an audience to believe what the propagandist wants them to believe. Many propaganda techniques are based on psychological research. Many of these same techniques can be classified as logical fallacies or abuse of power and control tactics. I was actually going to mention this before I actually read this topic of how, when he said a real American, right? That's this no real Scotsman fallacy.
Right.
You want to turn off your overlay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I apologize, everyone.
It's true.
Okay, so, All right, so I'm not going to read all the definition and everything. We're going to get down into the specific techniques. So, think about this, guys. Think about our community that we're in, the communities that I guess we're up against, right? And the tactics they use to try to discredit what we believe. Okay? So, number one, this is an alphabetical order. Ad hominem. A Latin phrase that comes to mean attacking one's opponent as opposing to attacking their arguments. Weird. We see that all the time.
All the time.
You heretic. At nauseum. This uses tireless repetition of an idea, especially a simple slogan that is repeated enough times. Yes, we can. May begin to take as the truth. Yes, we can. This approach is more effective alongside the propagandist limiting of or controlling the media. Yes, we can. Agenda setting. Agenda setting means the ability of the news media to influence the importance placed on the topics of the public agenda. If a news item is covered frequently and prominently, the audience will regard the issue as more important. Okay, appeal to authority. Appeal to authority, cite prominent figures to support a position, idea, argument, or course of action. Sound familiar? Has anyone ever heard of the early church fathers? Did you hear what they said? Don't you know they said? You know what I mean? Appeal to fear. Appeals to fear seek to build support by instilling anxieties and panic in general population. For example, Joseph Goebbels exploited the Theodor Kaufmann's German Must Perish to claim that the Allies sought the extermination of the German people. Appeal to prejudice, using loaded or motive terms to attach value or moral goodness to believing the proposition. See that all the time. Oh, so you're slitting their throats. Bandwagon an inevitable victory. Appeals attempt to persuade the target audience to join in and take the course of action that everyone else is taking. More to the herd mentality. So real quick, isn't it interesting that you've heard of all of these fallacies before and how they are literally the same thing as propaganda techniques?
Yeah. Yes. Even the beer bug. I mean,
yeah. So Robert, thank you so much for bringing this up. When you came across this and you started reading this, what were your thoughts?
Same as what you're saying there. I mean, I knew what a lot of these were, but there's a lot more on there too. But yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, definitely it's there, and and they use these things all the time.
All the time.
Scapegoating. Okay. Oh gosh.
Dude, this one right here, I saw this. Rationalization. Individuals or a group may use favorable generalities to rationalize questionable acts or beliefs. Vague and pleasant phrases are often used to justify such actions or beliefs.
Oh my God. Yes.
Oh gosh. So pretty.
You'll hear like Sean. You hear like Sean talk. He did a little thing where he's talking about just about doing debates, and he was talking to people about how he does it, and he's also looking for some pointers from other people. But he was throwing some of these techniques that people use in debates, to they try to win the debate rather than throw out the information to win the debate.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Discredit the person you made.
Yeah.
Right.
This one, paltering. The active use of selective truthful statements to mislead.
that's done in the Christian community.
That's what I'm talking about. Like within our communities, we see all of these things happen. It's literally so interesting. And this is probably the worst one, right? Within our community, right? Because how many people say, "Well, God told me." You know what I mean? And it's like I'm not saying that God doesn't talk to people, that there's no type of communication. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is when you use that, well, this happened to me, so I know this. How can you dismiss that? How can you rebut that? You can't, right? And so here we get, boom, here's a fallacy.
Right.
So I went up into a plane and I saw the curve. So you can't tell me that there's no curve. So sweet. Again, we'll have this in the Discord, so check it out if you're more interested in those. Okay, we got a couple more things. I want to see something real quick.
The
Go ahead,
windows
baby.
in a plane, the windows are curved. That's why you've seen the curve.
I know. Bro, I'm obviously not serious. But thank you for playing the Angel's Advocate. Okay, sweet. So here's a little quick one, right? So we've kind of already talked about how it was used within the theater system, right? Because they had to switch from first reel to the next reel, right? And so they kind of had that in between time. And so for that time that it took for them to set up for the next reel, they had this other reel to play, which we saw like that war propaganda of, the women. 2,500 women are into the workforce to make guns for you, men. So you are wanted by the U.S. Army, and so it was this multi-layered throughout all of society propaganda piece to get people to join the war effort. And so we saw that within the theaters, right? So this is Lionel Nation. We're going to check this out. It's a quick little video. But he's going to kind of bring up an important point, which we already kind of hintified this before, right? Because we saw that the celebrities of that day would lead rallies, war bonds, basically for people to give their money to the war effort. So let's check this out.
So number one.
Oh, let's drop our cameras, guys. All these war bonds,
so number one,
for people to give their money to the war effort. So let's. Will you mute yourself, Marcia?
Oh, I'm sorry again. Darn.
So number one, remember one thing: the industry, the entertainment industry, and I use that term entertainment loosely, but the term entertainment loosely has forever been, to an extent, enlaced in government. We used to call it propaganda, and during World War II, it was more solidified. You had the Cappers and the Warners and others working together in solidarity with the government. During the 50s, remember that one? That's when you had that weird break, that weird kind of push against commies.
So for one, he brought up the entertainment industry, which we know is Hollywood, LA, that whole system. Okay. So, and if I don't know if y'all caught it from that girl's video that we watched, she said that great grandson of Edward Bernays is the CEO of Netflix. Okay? And we were talking last week about Netflix, specifically the Black Mirror, and how it's used as a way to predictively program these ideas of things to come, right? And then as that's one part of it. But in this episode, we can definitely, if you have Netflix, there is no short supply of propaganda of things that are happening within our society, and it talking about them in a positive way in order to change the ideas, the opinions, the feelings through an emotional tie through the society. And we literally see that to this day, and we definitely see it through like he said, the so-called entertainment industry. And those that don't know, the news media, guys, is now classified as entertainment. It is not classified as general news. As news, it's classified as entertainment. And we've talked about this before, right? But this is a very important video. We're gonna play this. It's 1 minute and 38 seconds, and then we're gonna talk about it because we've all seen this. Most of us have seen this, but it's an important one to kind of keep showing. So let's pull it up. We'll play it and we'll come back and talk about it.
Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest
responsibility
is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble and trending irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and
Doesn't that kind of make you sick every time you watch it?
Yeah, Operation Mockingbird. It's crazy how they all talked at the same time and they were word for word.
It's almost like they're actors reading a script, right?
Oh, they are. They're totally.
No, they are.
Everything's prepared for them.
They're not. They're not journalists writing these stories.
No.
You remember that Saturday Night Live skit when the prompter went down and they acted like savages? They didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to do. They were waiting for the teleprompter to come back up.
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. It was Will Ferrell and forget the other guy. The other guy.
Yeah, totally. And they would just read on the whatever the teleprompter said, regardless of what it said, right?
Right.
And so it's like
what it said, yeah.
Yeah. And so go ahead.
How did Vine say repeat line or turn page? Something like that.
Where?
Oh.
When Biden was reading the teleprompter.
Oh yeah.
He said like repeat line or turn page.
Yeah, like some instruction on it as opposed to what he's supposed to read.
That's another scary thing. Our president is just repeating whatever is on the teleprompter.
Well,
and you don't even have enough sense to know.
To be fair, Trunk is like just says, it's the greatest.
He would ad-lib. He would go off the teleprompter.
But then he would just repeat the same things over and over.
Yeah.
Like, I got the best. It's the best. It's super important. It's the best. He's just like would use that phrase over and over and over. And I actually think that was a fallacy where they just keep repeating the same phrase over and over and over to make it more believable.
That was part of his hook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had the best economy. We had the best this. We had the best that. And like that other politician we were watching the video, he had a slogan that was a real American, and so that he would say that over again. I'm a real American. It's just the same thing.
Right.
They all do it.
But the other thing, do you understand that they never say republic? They always say democracy.
Yeah, that's in it too,
Always.
right? Even though we're a representative republic, they always want to use that word democracy.
They do, in everything.
We live in a democracy. This is to save democracy. It's like, y'all don't want democracy.
You don't want it.
That's two wolves and a sheep, agreeing on what they're going to eat for dinner.
Yep.
What was that? What we were saying where it's ad nauseum. This tirelessly used repetition of an idea, especially a simple slogan, that is then repeated enough times, may begin to take it as the truth.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go back to something Wendy had put up in the chat.
Okay.
Way back when we were talking about commercials. You remembered those little jingles.
Do you remember what she said?
No, the little jingles in commercials. We could repeat them all. Hey, Mikey, he likes it, and all kinds of stuff, or whatever jingles. I can't even think of one right now. Robert,
one.
Safe flight
What?
repair, safe flight replace.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, all of those things.
Liberty, liberty, liberty.
Yeah. Yep. All of those.
ID.
Let's take a quick break real quick and shout out to all those who are in chat. Let me bring y'all up. Get you over here. And I need you over here. Nope, wrong one.
I can't even remember the race. There were so many.
There you go. Not the one I wanted, but...
Remember this one, Marcia? If you got a passion for fashion.
No, I don't remember that.
Saver, take the wheel of your automobile and spin on down to Ideal. that might have been local. That might have been Philadelphia.
Probably. Let's shout out to some people. Sharal. I think I say that right, sister. Hope you're doing well. Glad to see you. We got Justin Credable. Welcome, brother. Hope you are doing well. Tyler Porter in the house. Welcome, brother. Glad to see you. Joy, welcome, sister. Hope you are doing well. Emissary of Elohim. Good to see you. And I know I'm missing some people. I already showed Wendy, but welcome, sister. Sweet. And then I think I'm at the top of the list. Let me click this to go to the bottom. Got Robert in there as well. If I missed anyone, I apologize, but it's good to see you all. I hope you are all doing well. Sweet. All right, let's get back into it. Pull this up. All right, sweet. Clicked the wrong one. All right, so we got another little video we're going to watch. This guy, brings up some really good points, and we're gonna kind of come back and look at this as well, because I feel like there's so many of them that we deal with, not only within our view of biblical cosmology, but also with our view on the Trinity, or with the priesthood, etc. So. Let's check this out, see what he has to say, and we'll talk about it.
We should talk definitions. Encyclopedia Britannica defines propaganda as the dissemination of information, facts, arguments, rumors, half-truths, or lies to influence public opinion. If we're honest, the less sensationalist way to describe most propaganda is influential rhetoric, or maybe advertising. Something doesn't need to be a lie to be propaganda. It doesn't need to come from the government. And it doesn't need to be about war or another country being the root of all evil. If you don't like this video, for example, you can call it propaganda if you want. It technically fits that description. There's no such thing as unbiased media, and I openly admit this channel's socialist bent, so this is influential rhetoric. But most of us don't use the word propaganda correctly, like the very uptight people at Britannica. We tend to think of propaganda more like Edward Bernays, the guy credited with developing modern public relations back in the 1920s. Bernays described propaganda as, quote, the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses. Unlike Bernays, though, most of us think this is a bad thing. He said it was an important element in democratic society. That's because Bernays had a terrible understanding of what democracy is. Bernays saw democracy not as a society where people govern themselves, striving to diffuse power equally between all and organize fairly their interdependence, but as a society that could be managed by what he called, quote, invisible governors. He believed most people were just too dumb or prone to violence to think for themselves, except in the narrow confines of an election between 2, max 3 or 4 pre-selected candidates. The rest of the time, people needed to be policed and nudged from the top down for life to remain decent. And as society started turning away from more overt and violent forms of control, he helped devise strategies that would help manage society through the more subtle means of public relations instead. Bernays wrote mostly for advertisers. He cared about molding habits to increase company profits. But soon enough, the importance of his work carried his techniques into state politics. Starting in the 1940s, for example, Bernays was hired by United Fruit Company, now Chiquita, the banana people, to run a massive PR strategy in the US. Working primarily, but not exclusively, through influencing the press, Bernays and United Fruit drummed up fear of a communist takeover in Guatemala, which had recently democratically elected a president with somewhat left-wing politics. If you've ever heard of United Fruit, you know how this story goes. It's the same almost everywhere in Latin America. In 1954, thanks in part to Bernays and United Fruit's efforts to demonize Jacobo Arbenz and paint him as a Soviet puppet, a CIA-backed coup overthrew the Guatemalan president and replaced him with a military dictatorship that plunged the country into civil war for decades. But back to the present. Bernays is long dead, and neoliberalism has perfected propaganda. Influential rhetoric, if you want to be less dramatic about it. The new wave of political rhetoric that's flourished under neoliberalism isn't as often about that bad country over there or the bad ideology you need to hate. That's still around, obviously, but rather the more subtle, more diffuse propaganda of modern neoliberalism is a lot more about who we should be as people. Neoliberalism, more so than previous capitalist societies, has pushed its propaganda, its jargon, and its way of thinking into almost every aspect of our lives. It has found the most effective way to become bulletproof without openly relying on violence. Neoliberalism is plenty violent, but nearly invisible control works. To protect itself, neoliberalism actually molds people in its image through a mix of both rhetoric and economic policy designed to change people's habits and beliefs in line with its own objectives. In other words, neoliberal propaganda creates neoliberal subjects. Neoliberal capitalism is often misunderstood. Because of people like Reagan, Thatcher, Friedman, and Hayek who made small government their whole thing, that's often how we think about neoliberalism, our current period of capitalism, where government supposedly shrank and corporate power grew. But that's not what neoliberalism is, neither in theory nor in practice. Neoliberalism actually means more, just slightly different government. Where the welfare state capitalism that existed before acted as a safety valve for capitalists by preventing markets from doing what they do, increasing inequality, exploitation, and poverty, neoliberalism is a different approach to the same problem of how do you stop capitalism from imploding when left to its own devices. Instead of having
Okay, so just like he said, he has socialist leanings. And you can tell by his rhetoric, right, from his propaganda, that that he thinks, capitalism is a bad thing. Now, it's a completely separate video. We're not really getting into that, but I feel like it's pretty thick for continue to listening. But again, this will be in the link in the Discord if you're interested in checking the full video out, or you can search that. Sweet. Okay, so let's go back to this as we kind of before we get back into this, let's kind of just talk about all we've seen and kind of all we've talked about tonight, kind of summing up our ideas and our thoughts about it, in our current situation and from the past, as well as what y'all kind of think. So one of the first things that comes to mind, my mind real quick, and so I think someone brought it up earlier, was the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Y'all remember that? And I totally believed it. I actually had a church that I went to as a kid have a person on to say, no, I know for a fact that they have those weapons. And so later on when it came out that there was no weapons, that was all lies, and we saw that those statements were as propaganda, that obviously affected the way that I saw the church, the church in general, and also specifically that church. So, what are some of y'all's thoughts or things that come to mind? Frankie B? Anyone?
I see him lighting up, but nothing's coming out, Frankie.
Oh, I just had my mic on. No, nothing's coming out. Go ahead, Marcia.
No, go ahead, Robert.
All right, yeah. So back then, for a while there, I was buying the line. Teresa wasn't buying it at all.
Really?
She didn't buy it at all. But yeah, it did start to crumble though before it was through. I started to see this, the whole weapons of mass destruction. Oh yeah.
No, I bought it.
Yeah, I bought it at first, but after a while, it's like, okay, what's going on? Oh, they moved them all because they saw them coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good for Teresa,
I
man.
just don't believe anything they say anymore.
Well, not anymore.
Well, not anymore. But what about in the past? Like what things, like what propaganda worked against you that you kind of bought hook, line, and sinker?
Well, the whole election thing, I got all into that.
Oh.
Bought into all that propaganda. But then once I realized both sides are rigged and they're playing against each other, forget about it.
Yeah, I believe the elections were worth. I don't know before I found out, and I believe most everything that was put out on TV before I started getting my eyes open. I don't know if much that I wasn't gullible for. Actually, I thought Saddam Hussein was bad, evil, bad.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and see, it all worked, right? And even all the way to the degree of like looking at those people as lesser people, right? Because of their beliefs. But now you're and I'm not saying they're the best, like obviously I believe what is the best, but they're a lot closer to what we believe than a lot of other religions, or even ones that would kind of label themselves similarly. You get what I mean? So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's really sad, really, that they had us. And I'm just so grateful that I got woken up out of that. There's still people in that slumber. There's still a mass majority in that slumber.
Yeah, and isn't it crazy that once you come out of that slumber, how easy it is to see the propaganda?
Yeah, but I'm still not going to say that I probably don't get propagandized. It's really slick.
Totally.
And it's like, you got to be on guard.
Oh,
you
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, I think anyone can propagandize you. And I do somewhat agree with what he said, right? Like we are coming from a certain perspective, right? Like a lot of us, when we give our opinions, or everyone, when they give their opinion, is basing that upon their beliefs. And so I totally get that, but there's a difference between, I guess, sharing your beliefs as opposed to trying to manipulate others into believing something.
Yeah.
So there's an intent there, right? That's
Right.
bearing false witness. So,
That is.
So yeah, he mentioned
Manipulation.
earlier glittering
That's manipulation, witchcraft, right?
Yeah, let's see if that's in here. No, it's nothing manipulation, but yeah, lying, deception.
Yeah. Oh.
Labeling and euphemism is used when the propagandist attempts to increase the perceived quality, credibility, or credence of a particular idea. A diplomatism is used when the intent of the propagandist is to discredit, diminish the perceived quality, or hurt the perceived righteousness of the individual. That happens all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I totally fell for the whole Trump thing personally. I bought that hook, line, and sinker. That's now why, I completely reject it. Voting to me is pointless. Now, if we're talking about the local level, depending on your area and the corruptness of it, I think it could matter. Should you get involved in your community? Absolutely, definitely, if you don't like the way it's ran, but at the same time, it's like the government, the powers that be, are going to do pretty much what they want until their time is over. So
I'm still leery, even at the local level. I really am. I think they've infiltrated everywhere.
It wouldn't surprise me, but if anything, I think the local level would be harder to do because the numbers are so small. You know what I mean? That's why I said depending on where you live. If you live in a town where there's 1,000 people and everybody knows each other, right? They're gonna know who they voted for as a group. You know what I mean?
True. Yes, I do. That's definitely true. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get. Tyler Porter said, let me share this. Tyler Porter said, "Coming to the truth of the FE destroys a whole lot of propaganda. A whole lot of the propaganda. Yeah, even Edward Bernays, which his work is based upon Sigmund Freud, which is based upon Charles Darwin." Right? These are all connected. This is a thread. We talked about the thread of the promise of the high priest, in season 1 throughout scriptures. Well, in their stuff, they have a common thread too, and it's pretty obvious to see what it is. And that's to get people to believe in lies. Who is it? Well, William J. Casey, the director of the CIA during the 1980s, said, "We will know when our disinformation is complete because is complete when everything the American public believes is false." So it's definitely in their. It's definitely a goal of theirs, to say the least.
I think it's there. I think we're a small minority, believe it or not.
Oh, anybody. We're a niche within a niche for sure.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. So, anyone else have any other kind of Okay, so we already have the propaganda about the last few years, right? About the beer bug and all of that. And we have the propaganda, coming from the events in Ukraine and Russia and Palestine and Israel. So what are y'all's kind of thoughts with predictive programming and with, propaganda? What do y'all see coming? Do y'all see, I don't know, kind of World War is a I wouldn't throw that off the table, but I just...
No, I didn't throw it off the table, but it seems like they're throwing so many things at... Now with my eyes open, it seems like there's so many things they're throwing at us that it's hard to even. Sometimes I just want to tune out because it's like, well, could that be it? Could that be it? Could this be it? You know, or are we going to go famine? Are we going to go crypto? Are we going to have world war? Are we going? I don't know. All of it. I don't even want to think about it, really.
Yeah, no, I get you, and I think that they're definitely stirring the pot. What could it be for, right? And they could always, you know, like right from all the stuff that they were pushing during the beer bug, it seemed like they were never going to relent. It seemed like, oh, this is it, right? But then,
it did.
But then when it started to relent, you're like, oh, okay, this is just like all their other stuff, right? And so they even did that with the Russia and Ukraine thought like, wow, this is going to lead, like this is all the signs leading up to another world war, right? But still something hasn't happened. So I'm not saying it's not possible that something happens. And of course, they're going to play their games, their war games, whatever it is that they're doing, right? Like, and as you say, they just keep injecting as much of it to us as they can, right? While obfuscating, they have all these murder trials going on. They have all these other things going on to, you know, obfuscate.
Oh, they got all these school shootings that aren't so, and it's just, I mean, there's just so many, and it's almost like they're really causing chaos within our own minds. But I had something, I lost it. But there was actually what they do are like a boy crying wolf. You know, you just you go, oh, this, and then it eases up. Oh, this, and then it eases up, and soon you start. Myself, I just start to not even be a watcher.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's a real hard thing for truth seekers to do, right? Because we're seeing so much truth, which means, right, like how many puzzle pieces have we picked up in our lives that we've like thrown by the wayside now because those pieces were useless, right? Like they had nothing to do with the puzzle piece of truth or the puzzle of truth. And we spend all our times, you know, looking at them and thinking about them, and they did nothing for us. So it happens that same way where we see these events and then nothing really happens. Well, you know, we're kind of lucky in the example, definitely of the modern generation, right? Because nothing real big event has at least affected modern America. But you know, who knows? It could spill over at any point, and they could play that card. But you know, we were talking about the politics of it too, and you know, me falling for Trump. You know, they may get Trump in there so that they can bring a war, right? Because think about how war hungry he kind of sounded, but then he did peace, right? So what if he comes this time and then all of a sudden, you know, he's in the middle of war times. His first election really didn't count, so he's going to stay for another 4 years. You know, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? But I'm just saying, like, they have all of these things set up and the propaganda ready for it to really change the people's minds who aren't awake. And so I think talking about these statements, and even, right, we showed you the history, we showed that it's being used today, right now, that could bring fear, and that's not what we want to do. We don't want to instill fear people, and because that, you know, that fear is not of the Lord. So it's a quick little scripture, but I think it's really important to talk about. 1 John, this is chapter 4, verse 4. It says, "Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world." And so,
Amen.
all the things that are set up against us, all the barricades that are placed in our way, you know, during our pursuit of truth, guys, they're all things that we have to deal with, things that we have to overcome. You know, a lot of the things that we believe now, we had to humble ourselves against all of that, you know, propaganda, against all of those testimonies, against all of those, you know, propaganda techniques that not only we would tell ourselves, but we would tell others to have the feelings, to have the beliefs that we had, right? And so,
do you think they're also working on the Christian community of trying to distract us so much?
oh yeah, the young lady talked about it before, right? Because think about all the denominations that literally are separated by one verse, right? Right, they believe 99.99% of the things, but this one verse, they take it one way or the other. It allows them to drink wine or not wine, or to have the vicar of Christ or to not believe in the vicar of Christ, to, you know, have this or have that. And, you know, that's the kind of the opposite of what I want to create here. Like, Frankie B, Wendy, I'm sure other people have disagreements with the things that I talk about, with the things that I believe and that I express to y'all watching the chat and those that watch it later. So, you know, I know that and I like to say this, I jealously observe my right to be wrong, because I've been wrong about so many things that I don't want to proverbially get caught with my pants down anymore. I don't want to be made the fool because I put my trust in anything other than the scripture. So if the scripture says greater is he who is in me than is in the world, then no matter the barricade, no matter the that's placed before me in my pursuit to truth, I know that the Father is with me, and we will get through that, because again, greater is who is in me than who is in the world. So right. Sweet. All right, so let's go ahead and say our goodbyes, and we'll call it a good stream. Any last thoughts, please go ahead and add that into your goodbye, and we'll call it a night, and we'll start the after show in Discord afterward. And so check the link in the description if you'd like to join that discussion. So we'll jump to you, Marcia, first, if you'd like to kind of give some closing thoughts and your goodbyes.
Yeah, it's just I think we're watching now, and maybe hopefully the people later will understand and their eyes will be open. That's my prayer, as more and more people's eyes are opened, and because it's such a mass out there that are not. I mean, they're still wearing masks. Really? Yeah. Some people are still wearing masks. I feel so sorry for, I don't know. But I praise the Father that he's opened our eyes. I just really want to thank him for that.
So think about this real quick, just to kind of cap what you said. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt, sometimes abbreviated as FUD, an attempt to influence public perceptive by disseminating negative and dubious / false information designed to undermine the credibility of their beliefs, right?
Oh my, yes.
So,
yes.
Right what you're saying. Sweet. Well, thank you for being here, sister. We'll jump over to you, Robert. Closing thoughts and your farewells.
Well, I'm so glad that Teresa and I were woke up before all that jabby jab stuff came around.
Oh yeah.
Amen.
I mean, I'm so glad that Teresa and I got together when we did. You know, we were married and we found truth. I mean, I imagine that if we weren't together, I'd probably been one of the statistical people who's out there saying, "Oh yeah, I'll take that. It's okay."
Yeah.
But she jumped. She's all over it. She's all over it. So,
right.
It's great. I'm blessed in that. For sure.
We are blessed that we have gotten our eyes open.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, brother. Well, thank you for joining us as always. We'll jump over to you, Frankie B. Closing thoughts and your farewells.
Yeah, good show, everyone. There's a lot of lies out there. Continually seek the truth. You shall find the answers, and don't believe the BS, because it's all just one lie after another. That's what this show is all about, just informing you, giving you insight and revelation on how to sift through all the lies and the deception. So just keep on digging deep, and you'll find the truth. And you might even find some truth that will blow your mind. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Have a great week. And we'll see. Are we on next week?
We're on next week. Big topic: atoms and nukes. So.
You know what? I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I have a gig.
Oh dang.
So.
All right. So real quick, preview without you. Quick insight: atoms and nukes.
They're all fake.
Believe lies, Frankie B.
How about
awesome,
we blow that? We'll blow that one up.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Frankie B. Thank you, everyone. We really do enjoy doing these streams. We hope y'all enjoy watching them. Those who are in the chat enjoy chatting, and we do really appreciate all the support. If it's not financial, getting a nice piece of merch, comments, subscriptions, likes, shares go a long way within the YouTubes. So thank you again to all the recent new subscribers, all those that left comments. It does mean the world. Up next is our outro, which is a original song by Born Out of Time. Frankie alluded to it, Dig Deep. If you haven't heard it before, stay around and check it out. And until next time, guys, remember that ABBA love you first. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Your glory, conceal a mystery. You give us the honor to search a matter. You raise up a standard to beat back our enemy. You establish this realm, and like a scroll you spread it out. Dig deep, search it out. Dig deep, seek it out. Dig deep, go on and walk it out. Dig deep. I give you oil to fill up your cup. I give you enough to fill up your lamp.